Hello and welcome. For this video today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Because my typing process is still underdeveloped and it would be a lot of time and energy to go back and gather more clips and footage of what I'm talking about in this video, I decided that I was just going to kind of wing it and go through and talk about some of the coins along with what I have learned throughout the process of typing Donald Glover. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some main points to keep in mind when typing in the future. I'm also going to talk about Dave and Shan's confidence percentage on each coin that they talk about on their website. So if it wasn't already obvious, this video is going to have some spoilers on what they typed Donald Glover as, so if you want to still try to go type them on your own, you can do that before watching this video. Okay, so first off, I wanted to talk about one of the main points I learned on how to type in the future. One point is considering where is this person at in their hero's journey? What kind of hell have they already been through? And I think of this as kind of considering how balanced is this person, how much have they learned to use more than just their savior functions, and come into whatever their arena is with more capabilities and a growth mindset. The second main point to consider when typing people is kind of what is the social etiquette period of this video you are watching at the time. How long has he been talking and where is he at in his comfort level to where he gets into that continuous flow? Dave and Shan have said before that it usually takes upwards of like 45 minutes for someone to reach that flow state. Okay, hopping into the coins. The first coin is going to be Observer versus Decider. A good indicator of this coin is trying to find where someone is all or nothing at. An example would be like if Susie somewhere said that, hey, you're really dumb. I'm gonna take that, and as a decider, I'm going to think that Susie thinks I'm dumb and this will never change. This is gonna be forever and she's never gonna see me any other way. For the observer, it would be like, my computer broke and I guess I just have to go live with the Amish now. So a good way of tracking this coin is just where is that forever feeling at? Where is that extreme, that discrepancy between the first and last function and whatever axis it is on? Dave and Shan were 80% confident on this coin, and when looking through some of his interviews, I think you can see just a tiny bit of this forever feeling in him when it comes to himself versus others. But again, he's actually a fairly balanced individual, so it's going to be a little harder to catch him in that area, along with it usually being hard to catch IPs in this area. The next coin is going to be DI versus DE. When looking at this coin, it's kind of helpful to look at the me versus them mentality and get out of my way kind of mentality when it comes to others. When you're seeing someone that is DE, this feeling is coming more from the idea of I'm not allowed to do what I want because these people are in the way, where for the DI it has a slightly different flavor but is still similar to where it is like I need people to be okay with me doing my own thing so they don't hate me forever and will still be there for me when I need them, but I'm still going to do my own thing. Dave and Shan's confidence guess on this coin was 90%, and in a lot of his interviews you can really see that DI of I'm fighting to be who I am, I want people to just take me for what I am. And there's also other instances that you see a lot with lead DI people where they claim that you don't know me. And that's kind of one of their defenses for trying to keep their identity separate from the tribe, or at least that's how I kind of take it. The next coin is going to be OI versus OE, and one of the biggest noticeable anecdotal pieces of evidence for Donald Glover when it comes to this is the channel changing. There's quite a few parts of different interviews where he tries to really get into talking about something, and he's trying to get his ideas out there, but every 10 seconds or so, he's kind of moving the goalposts as he is talking, and his idea shifts and moves, and then eventually comes back around to the beginning, and at the end of that, a lot of people have no idea what he said. Dave and Shan's confidence percentage on this coin was 75%, and a lot of what they talked about was, is this person a change agent in the tribe? Is he pushing for change, or is he trying to push more for regulation, kind of like Elon Musk would be, for an example? Pushing for those rules and control versus going out and pushing for change. And I think one of the reasons why this is more noticeable in Donald Glover is because of all of his different projects he works on, a part of his career going from writer to actor to comedian to musician. So to me, even though the anecdotal evidence is channel changing, I think that really helped me out when it came to typing him, but it's good to remember to keep in mind your other cross-checks. Intuition versus sensing. I learned a lot about intuition in this typing process. I realized that I never quite understood what NI is and what it actually looks like. What Dave and Shan talked about that is really helping me come to an understanding of what it looks like is how actually deep NI is. And I'm starting to understand how that deepness really helps people understand who they are and what their life path is, even if it is a demon. In comparison to myself being NE Savior, I realize the depth I go into things doesn't even compare, and a lot of the things I go into about myself and my path is very surface level, and I think a big part of that is still the OE aspect of it and needing to keep the options open. Dave and Shan's confidence on this coin was 55%. One thing to keep in mind about their confidence percentage is that it's probably less so of them being sure that it is a savior or demon, but more so the amount of content that is out there just doesn't have as much observable evidence to prove it. So if you decide to go and try to look at some of Donald Glover's interviews afterwards, keep in mind that seeing this coin, there's probably not going to be too much evidence one way or the other to actually prove it. One of the other aspects of Donald Glover where I think you can see that this intuition is a demon is that one sticky note he posted on Instagram talking about all of his fears of the future and all of his uncertainties. As we know, trying to figure out someone's fears and processing those fears and where they're coming from is one of the biggest parts about typing someone in objective personality. And having a fear of the future is somewhat a fear of the unknown. And I think this is really important to see Donald Glover as demon intuition, because no one can disagree that he definitely talks with a lot of intuition in what he says, especially parts where he gets really rambling and really deep into things. And it is difficult to see those ramblings as demon intuition themselves, so that's where you really have to go to those fears to help prove that. The other thing that would have helped me figure this part out is that I could tell that he was OE, which is why I typed him NE, because I saw the intuition and the OE. But if I understood what NI actually looked like and how deep it was, I could have realized that I'm seeing NI a lot, but I know he's OE, and come more to the conclusion that he's probably Savior SE and Demon NI, and use those cross checks better to come to the right conclusion. The next coin is feeling versus thinking. This one is hard for me to find too much to say on, but the feeling aspect of him being a feeler just felt really obvious to me and stuck out. Part of that might be the contrast with myself. Dave and Shan's percentage of confidence is 90%, and what they talked about was how a lot of times feelers just aren't really thinking about their actual reasons of why they're doing something. And I think there's a few instances in some of his interviews where someone is asking him, why did you do this, or how did you come to this decision? And I believe the answer he gave was he just wasn't thinking. And it's kind of funny how actually true that is. And Dave in their video gave a really interesting analogy of how it's almost like someone going around listening to music in their ears, going through the house and kind of just cleaning, knocking things over, and just kind of vibing on whatever path they are imagining, and then someone comes in and asking them a bunch of questions, and the answer is just going to be that he wasn't thinking, not being conscious of it, not taking it into consideration, just kind of on your saviors, just going with the flow. And I think this analogy is very important and just does such a good job of explaining how people go all in on their saviors and what the default of someone actually looks like. Consume versus blast. For this coin, I don't have much to say either, because for me, I just kind of have enough experience of knowing what this coin mostly looks like. To me, I think what stuck out the most was how he didn't feel responsible for sharing the meaning behind his art and putting that information out there, and really just wanted to leave that whole area void for people to kind of come to their own conclusions. And I feel like you can see this in a few other ways as well, to where he's just not teaching the tribe or for the behalf of the tribe or anything like that. Dave and Shan's confidence percentage was 90% for this coin, and Shan talked a little bit about an idea that I don't quite have processed and don't exactly understand where she's coming from, but she talks about how Donald Glover is responsible for the brand, and I'm not exactly sure how that plays in, but just being responsible for the brand decisions and what happens in that area. So if you happen to understand more about how this is an idea that revolves around being consume above blast, please share it in the comments, because I would like to hear about it. Sleep versus play. This is another coin that I learned quite a lot throughout this typing process, and one interesting takeaway I'm having is how much more people that are saviors sleep have a focus on what I just call safety, where when they have something that produces negative consequences, they do what they can to make sure that that does not repeat itself. And when it comes to people that are play savior, it's like they aren't proactively processing before they jump. They're jumping in before thinking. This is one of the coins I also got wrong, and the main thing I was trying to look for when typing this coin was looking for that play pinging of checking in with others for ideas, and that whole aspect of what play is, of bouncing ideas back and forth. Dave and Shan's confidence on this coin was 60%, and what they were kind of talking about was how he had the vibe of just savior extroverted energy. I think that is just something that you can come to the conclusion of once you really have a bigger pool of people typed. Info versus energy. This was an interesting one, and I don't think I have too much of my own ideas to put out there for it, but Dave and Shan's percentage of confidence on this coin was 80%, and they talked a lot about a specific interview where he came onto it wearing just shorts and a t-shirt and was talking to an infodom interviewer that was taking the information seriously and thus dressed up in a tuxedo, and kind of showing the difference of how people that are energy dom are more focused on just getting things done, while infodoms are taking the information so seriously that it's just kind of uptight, wearing a suit, that kind of contrast. If I were to go back through some of his interviews and try to find this coin specifically, I would again kind of look at how he's handling his information, how much is he responsible for putting out there into the known versus how much is he proactively just doing things. And I feel like another good example of the whole energy of doing is all of the different projects he's involved in terms of how much he actually has going on. Feminine sensing versus masculine sensing. For this one, I really didn't have much to go off of. There wasn't much of anything I found in interviews that pointed one way or the other, so I mainly just took a guess based off of his music video, This Is America, and Dave and Shan's percentage of confidence on this coin was 60%, and it's kind of just like a trust Dave thing. I mean, I don't understand what goes into dancing and comparing different dances. It all kind of looks the same to me, and it's not really my forte. So for this coin, Dave being MF himself, I am perfectly fine with just trusting Dave on this one. Feminine DE versus masculine DE. This one was one of the ones that was really obvious to me, because in a lot of his interviews you can just see how unmovable he is in a lot of areas of his identity and how much he's actually pushing on himself to decide whether things are good or not. He pretty much just doesn't move on his own values or what he likes unless he himself decides to. Dave and Shan's guess for this coin was 85%. And the interesting thing I pulled from what they were talking about for this coin was how there seems to be a pattern with masculine feeling, probably a savior, where they really use pain to push forward. And to me, how I described this kind of pain would probably be someone telling them that, oh, you're not good enough or you can't do this, and them taking that kind of pain and negativity to push forward and show off that, yes, I can do it, here you go, here's my proof in your face. And I believe this is something I actually specifically heard in one of his interviews. So that about does it for this video, going through all of the coins and talking a little bit about them. I hope that you guys get something out of this video and that it helps in some of your future typings. I think the best way to end off this video is showing on screen an image of someone that has the same twin type as Donald Glover, and after that I'm going to be showing the next week's typing and who it will be on. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be doing a video on them or not, but we will see. And until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Bye.